I'm the scat man. I'm the scat man.
Happy Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, NHL Puck Props, 14-year NHL veteran Carlo Colaiacovo, presented by Sports Interaction. Jingles is not here this week. You know, an observation from the pumpers, Darren Fulks. Josh didn't get his nose fixed. It is actually me, Jared.
He's there.
Hockey.
He's watching. Look, he's
watching.
watching.
Look at that.
He's next
you
to
know,
it.
Josh is apparently like he's auditioning for HGTV or something like that, doing a whole bunch of Hode Renos. You do your own Renos, Carlo? You ever do your own?
No, I pay somebody to do it, man. What am I going to do it for?
Exactly. I mean,
I told Josh, I said, Josh, use all your winnings and just pay somebody to do it.
That would be the logical thing to do. But either way, I say he's got some contractors doing the work. Anyways, Jared Hockey filling in today. I'll be here tomorrow. Josh will be back on Friday. So yeah, we're going to get into it. We got small slate tonight. Lots of action last night, Carlo. There we finally saw some of the unders come back. A little bit of under returns there. Is it safe to say that teams are finally back from the Four Nations break or the trips to Cancun and they're settling back into what real hockey is?
I give it a couple more days because yesterday was probably still only the second game maybe some teams have played coming out of the break. Some teams came out and played 3 games in 4 nights. So you're definitely gassed and you see fatigue and you see a little bit of, lackluster defensive play. I think by the weekend, teams will start to get settled in again because they'll have more time of getting together. This is almost eerily similar to the way the start of the season usually starts every year, where for the first 2 or 3, maybe 4 games, you see a bundle of goals scored everywhere, and then teams start to adjust and coaches actually start to coach and you get back into your system. So I would think by the weekend, you'll probably see that.
All right. Well, like you said, we'll see how it goes. 3 games on the slate tonight. We'll get right into them. Again, like we get started, please like, share, subscribe down below. Pumpers are active already, ready to go. And start off with our first game, the Winnipeg Jets, Ottawa Senators. Carlo, can anyone slow down the Jets? What, dead straight? They're red hot.
I mean, maybe the Washington Capitals can, but I mean, they're a tough team to beat right now.
Yeah, they're playing well. Like I said, the Capitals are fighting them for the President's Trophy. Our first pick, we're looking actually at the Jets to win in regulation. The 3-way money line plus 125 is the best price you can get at Sports Interaction. So the Jets, you said they've already played 2 games. They came out of the break. They needed extra time for both. One was that sluggish first game against the Blues with backup goalies. Monday, they dominated the Sharks, though Vitek Vanacek played well in nets for San Jose to keep them in there. Kyle Connor seems fired up from that scratch in the Four Nations final. Only thing we don't know if we're going to get Hellebuck or Eric Comrie, because the Jets do play at Nashville tomorrow, but the Nashville's terrible, so you can go either way with that. But is it going to matter tonight? We got an Ottawa team that's struggling is kind of like an understatement for what they're doing right there.
They've lost 4 in a row. They're playing some, uninspired hockey right now, which is a surprise, for a team that's gone through so much this year, with man games lost and adversity and goaltending. I mean, this team's rotated almost 5 goaltenders this year, and they're 2 points out of a playoff spot. Right. So they got to find a way to come out of this. They got to find a way to come out of it quick because, every night that they're not playing, teams around them are winning. So losers of 4 in a row, you almost think that this is a desperation type game. And are you going to see a desperation type effort? They need it against a team that's in Winnipeg that's won 10 in a row. And maybe this is one of those trap games for Winnipeg where, they're coming off of a win against San Jose the other night in overtime, 2-1. Didn't play great, but they found a way. Now, they've won 10 in a row, and the longer this goes, you kind of wonder how much of their A game you're going to see during these streaks where they just know that they could just show up and play against a desperate Ottawa team that needs to win more than Winnipeg does. But Winnipeg, it just feels like even when they don't bring their A game, they win with their B game. And I don't know. I kind of sense that this might not be a Hellebuck start because he played 3 games in the Four Nations, and I think they kind of want to load manage him a little bit because they've allowed themselves that comfort to do it. So pay attention to that. But with the way things are trending with Winnipeg and not trending with Ottawa, seems like Winnipeg's the play.
Yeah, and Daddy Sharpek calls it there. If Kachuk and Norris play, he thinks Ottawa can be live. Kachuk is the question here. We practiced yesterday, but I look at kind of his quotes afterwards. He left early, said he didn't feel the pop, needs to make a smart decision, doesn't want to re-aggravate it. That's not super encouraging that he'll play, or like if he plays, is he going to play at the level of intensity we're used to seeing, which really kind of sparks and drives the Ottawa team there.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, this guy's doing all kinds of interviews and podcasts and signing autographs and stuff like that. He's becoming a very lovable player and figure outside of the game. They need him in the lineup, and maybe that's the boost that they could get if he does play tonight. But if he doesn't, they got to play, in favor of their captain. They got to go out and win one for him. And so players find different type of motivations for the games. Ottawa's got to find any type of motivation right now. Because it's desperate hockey for them right now.
Yeah, like I said again, the Caps, they're so good. So the only thing that might really stand up to them is the Jets so good. The Caps stand up to them. Quick question: President's Trophy. You like Winnipeg or Washington? Who's standing out to you more there?
I gotta go Washington on this one. I love Winnipeg, but Morrissey was dealing with some sort of illness. Hellebucks, they're probably going to load manage. They're probably going to make an addition to their forward group, and you wonder what that does with the chemistry. I look at a Washington team that had 0 players playing at the Four Nations. 0. So every one of those players have just got their batteries recharged, right? And I look at, their place in the Eastern Conference. Now, they had a letdown game yesterday against Calgary, but I kind of think that I see somewhat of a stall in Winnipeg versus because even if you look at the standings, Washington has a pretty considerable gap. They're pretty comfortable in first place. Winnipeg has a 9-point lead, but I think the Western Conference, there's a lot more favorable games. Like there's more bad teams than there is in the Eastern Conference because there's more of a playoff race going on in the Eastern Conference. So I don't know. Like there could be some letdown games here for Winnipeg. I like Washington's chances just because they're a team that has caught everybody by surprise, and they're starting to get people to really buy into everything that they're doing over there.
And Ovi is on a warpath to break Gretzky's
and
record.
Ovi too. The Ovi story is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So, and like I said, kind of looking at the one thing about the Capitals are going to be fighting, one of the teams they're fighting with in that division is New Jersey Devils. We're going to move on to the marquee game maybe of the night, which is the Devils taking on the Avalanche. You look at this, you think this is going to be a high-scoring game, with Hughes, with Brad, McKinnon, Makar, but you've really actually seen both these teams kind of play some low-scoring games. And with the Devils going out west here tonight, we're looking at the first period under 1.5 goals at -110. It's still shaded to the over. I think the over is -120. You look at just kind of some trend rates. The Devils have seen the under 1.5 first period hit nearly 60% this season.
Wow.
It's the second highest rate in the league. The Avs are around 50%. But for Colorado, 7 of its last 10 games have failed to see multiple goals in the opening 20. He's Colorado. They've kind of got this problem with scoring coming out of the break. The offense isn't clicking. There's still that question about the depth beyond, McKinnon and, the Nekash and Lehkonen line. Also for Colorado, this is the craziest part. The power play is so bad. They're 28th in power play percentage since January 1st. The Devils are 15th. Penalty kills are almost 90%. So I don't see special teams going there. So I think we're probably going to see a low scoring first period there. But I don't understand how Colorado, these guys can't score more, or are they just trying to play more of a defensive game? Is that what they're aiming for?
So I did the Montreal Canadiens game yesterday playing the Carolina Hurricanes, and I was watching Mikko Rantanen, and he looks like a completely different player playing in Carolina. Like an irrelevant player is what he looks like. And you kind of wonder, based on what you said about Colorado, if they're feeling the impact as well, too, of not having Rantanen part of that group and part of that power play that has struggled so much as you referenced, right? So I'm just as surprised as you are. I still look at Colorado as a juggernaut type of team, but they're not really finding themselves in high scoring games as of late. They're 3-7 to the under, to the last 10 games, which is surprising with the talent that we see and, the amount of goals. And this is a team that led the league last year, the best home scoring team in the NHL. You haven't seen that carry over into this year. So And New Jersey, again, we're talking about a total that's 5.5. New Jersey's got a ton of offense. It's kind of surprising that their offense has dried up a little too over the last, where they're not really scoring a bunch, but they're not really giving up a bunch either. So with two teams with this much talent, surprised that we haven't seen more goals score. Maybe it changes, but right now, based on the information and the data that you've found, the first half or the first period under seems like a very valuable play right now.
Yeah, now Colorado does maybe get a boost tonight. Val Nichushkin actually practiced yesterday. He hasn't played since, I think, New Year's Eve. He practiced on the line with Jonathan Drouin and Casey Middlestat, and he might play tonight. Obviously, he's a great offensive talent, but I'm actually looking at that to kind of impact another player, Jonathan Drouin. And we're going to look at the under on his points at -120. So I get it. You think, Nichushkin plays with Drouin. That's a really big help. But here's the issue here. If Nichushkin plays, he likely bumps Drouin off the PP1, leaving on that less fearful second power play unit against an elite Devils penalty kill. We might see Lehkonen go down. They've kind of both take turns bouncing off there. But then even you look at even strength, you're going to see Colorado. They're either going to face Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt, or it's Nico Hischier and Stefan Noesen, or the Meyer Mercer third line. So either way, there's no real clear advantage for that line to play. Casey Middlestat has been one of the biggest focal points of the struggle for Colorado. His 5-5 offense has vanished.
I took him out of my fantasy lineup. Thank God.
Yeah, it's he did well on the power play early in the year, but now that he's on 5-5, is not doing much. And in the event that Nichushkin doesn't play, you're probably looking at Juuso Parssinen on that line, which is a really downgrade just in 5-5 offense. So it looks like Drouin, again, it's a tough one against the Devils. Could be a tight game. A lot of skill, but a lot of quality on both sides. You look at Drouin maybe to not be a factor in what should be a low event game. Those are teams that are playing well for the most part. We're going to go to the nightcap, the TNT game, the Canucks Kings. We have a team that's playing very well and a team that is a mess. The Kings are 5-0-1 February. Used a massive third period to dump Vegas on Monday. Vancouver, on the other hand, Carlo, Rick Tocchet's out here calling out Elias Pettersson for not moving his feet and being too hesitant. Pettersson responds by just saying that he's annoyed by the media, not really the kind of thing you want to see from your leader. They put the lines in the blender again. I think you've got Pettersson between Nils Hoglander and Jake DeBrusk. Can't really say I am enthusiastic by it. So the first thing I'm looking at is actually the Canucks team total under 2 +135 at Sports Interaction. You can get this under 2.5 at -135, but you know what? Let's get greedy and take a flat 2 for $1 more. Listen, they've got 2 goals in 2 games since the break. I understand Quinn Hughes is back, but they also still finished with 2 or fewer goals in 3 of the last 4 games with him before they went off for the Four Nations break. They're not shooting. They're not scoring. They're facing a Kings team. Listen, the Kings, they're so deep with those 3 lines, and Kopitar and Deneau. You've got the Fiala and Byfield line too. They really kind of do it. Strong penalty kill as well. I just, what is going on with Vancouver? Is there a way out for them here at all?
Well, a lot of what's going on in Vancouver has been hovered around the Elias Pettersson situation. I mean, they traded JT Miller to appease him, right? I mean, there's a huge rift there, and they figured that if they trade Miller, he would find his game again. And now he's making other excuses as to, why he just wants to be left alone but there's a certain level of expectation comes with Pettersson, with, the title that they've given him, the salary that they've given him, and he's just not producing. And then what that happens is it creates a negative effect around the team, because they're trying to make him the focal point. He doesn't want to be the focal point, and the team is struggling as bad as they are offensively. I give them a ton of credit before the break. They did a pretty good job, staying afloat with Pettersson struggling and Quinn Hughes out of the lineup and the Miller trade that happened, and even Demko leaving. Lankinen's been holding the fort. But we can't hide the obvious here. They just struggle scoring. And the LA, they've come out of the break playing at a different level right now. And they've always been a good defensive team. Drew Doughty's playing at the top of his game. I think this could be another struggle for the Canucks tonight.
Yeah, and you see Grade A Fantasy saying Fiala, Lafayette, and Byfield as a stack. Jingle saying there's 3 stacks for LA too. One thing to keep an eye out for, look out for what LA does in the pregame rushes. One change they made against Vegas in that game as they moved Kempe with Byfield and Fiala. That line went off in the third period to kind of spark Vegas back.
Yeah.
If they are a line, you might want to look at maybe stacking them. But in the spirit of the stack man and filling in for Jingles, we got to have one stack. But unfortunately, this is a grimy understack.
He loves understacks, though.
We're looking at Philip Hedl and Connor Garland under 0.5 points at plus 135. So we talk about the lines in the blender. That second line for Vancouver now is Hedl between Connor Garland and Dakota Joshua. That is not a fear-inducing kind of line you see. Listen, Vancouver, they're starting to see the same things with Hedl that Ranger fans saw. He's got those flashes of the size, the speed, the skill, but, then he can't connect in that pass at the last second, or he misses the head on a shot, and it just doesn't turn into points. He's got 2 points in 6 games. Meanwhile, I look at Connor Garland here. He's pointless in 16 of his last 20 games, and Dakota Joshua has 5 points in 32 games all year. Again, we're going through an LA Kings team that is just, they are deep. They run those 3-4 lines. All of them will carry the play and push the puck in the Vancouver end. You can find Hedl as short as minus 170 to get a point. Garland minus 185. Put them together to be a little bit of quiet there at plus money. It's desperate times in Vancouver. I mean, we talked about
juicy.
The Senators are struggling. The Canucks are really grasping something. Maybe Hughes sparks them. That I hope maybe that helps Pettersson. We just don't know what we're going to get here against a really, really good and hot Los Angeles team. Now, recap it all. Small slate, 5 plays. Start off with the Jets winning regulation. Got the Devils Avalanche first period under 1.5. Drouin not getting any points. Canucks under 2 goals, and Hedl Garland under 0.5 points. Try to do Josh Pratt. That's the plan here, right?
No, you try to do Josh like heavy, because every time I've been working with you, we kind of laugh at Josh because our picks hit, right? So maybe Josh is the guy, and he's the guy holding us back. But we went on a little bit of a tear before the break, and we've kind of cautioned people to sort of be a little bit more aware of your bets, because it's a weird time of year. But I've always said Josh is one of the best in the game, and when you replace him, I don't think there's that much of a drop off. So
that's it. You got to have two. You got to have those top 2 centers to win a strong team. That's the key. So thanks again, everyone. Today,
you demand, Jingles. You demand, buddy.
We will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Jingles will be back on Friday. We got a much bigger slate tomorrow, so a lot more things to dive into there.
Love it.
Tonight, let's go over these 3 ones and let's get some winners.
All right, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow.